that captures that glow, you know, so.
It runs really deep into your blood. Some of the original sounds.
Hawaii.
If I could sum up our experience in 2 words, those 2 words would have to be strangely American. A stepping stone to more exotic lands, Hawaii was definitely worth the trip. Exciting locals, many activities, and interesting eats. There was always something to see or do.
A luau, you say? Oh, great. Another money-draining tourist activity sure to leave you feeling empty inside, with lighter pockets, and have you trying to convince yourself that it was worth it. Is this one of those? Well, this is worth it. And this luau at the Royal Kona Resort will have you feeling anything but empty.
A huge fire was built, some porous stones were heated up, the river rocks. When they got red hot, we lined the bottom of that imu or pit. Okeako, please bless this evening.
Okay, to keep the ladies interested, here's a performance based on the culture and history of Hawaii. The dance I have to do to get dinner in my house.
more personal than texting?
I was born in the old era where we talk to each other. You laugh because you have your phone.
We're going to share with you more traditions. Kona is a traditional fishing village. You might have noticed by the delicious fish and food this evening. How did you enjoy the meal? How about a round of applause for the staff here?
Gentlemen, there is a reason that the female dancers shake their hips the way they do, so watch carefully to try to see why. What else can you say?
Representing the islands of Samoa, our fire night dancer. Makoa.
Now it was time for my personal favorite, parasailing. You'd think I'd be nervous, but all I felt was excitement. I was ready to get into the air. After watching a young couple parasail ahead of us, my anticipation was rising. It's not every day that you get to soar 1,200 feet into the air. I was not disappointed.
Survived the ride. Yeah, that was super fun.
All right, come on around, guys. So, in case you didn't know, coffee is actually a fruit and it grows on a tree. And these are your coffee trees. So if you can look here, you can see kind of different stages of growth. Some of the smaller ones from a more recent flowering, and the ones that are green that are starting to yellow a little bit, those are the ones that are going to ripen the soonest. Those are from as early as January. And we're going to wash the cherries before we pulp them, and then we're going to take the skins, dry them out, and we'll have tea. So So right now it's, you can find it, it's called Cascara tea.
As a coffee connoisseur, a behind-the-scenes tour of Heavenly Hawaiian Farms was quite a treat. A caffeinated one at that.
The best guys are picking 400 or 500 pounds in a day. Because you pick it, you're filling up big burlap sacks, and you tie that off, and it's hot out here when you're picking, and that's starting to rot. It's kind of like a compost bin, all that stuff's fermenting and getting real hot, and if you don't process it within that first day, all that coffee is going to taste pretty bad. Yeah, the two things that we worry about the most are the pigs tearing up the land and the coffee berry borer, which is just the little bug that's a pain in the butt. We process here. It has two main functions. It's going to peel the red cherry off of the beans, and then the beans have kind of a slimy layer of mucilage on them, and it's going to wash that off. And what that means is our process is washed coffee. That's probably your most common kind of processing method. It's usually thought of as the best way to process coffee. It makes for a really nice, clean cup. But it's not what you have to do. You could leave that mucilage, that slimy layer on, and let the beans dry with that on. You get what's called honey coffee. You could also just skip this entirely. You could take the cherries off the trees, let them dry on the drying decks, and then the beans will start to absorb flavors from the skins and nutrients from the skins, and you get a kind of a sweeter tasting coffee, and that's your natural process. So there's a bunch of different ways to process. Those are kind of your three main ones, and lots of variations of those. But your most common is the washed coffee, where you just get the skin off, wash the mucilage off, and dry the beans. Yeah, so originally there's no native Kona coffee tree. So the most common variety you'll find here is this Kona typica, which is a Guatemalan tree. There's other names for it. People call it Kona Guatemalan, Guatemalan typica. They all mean the same thing. 100% is what you really want, and the amount of that out there is very little. Around 3 million pounds is the total supply of Kona coffee, compared to the world production of coffee, which is, I've heard numbers around 10 billion. So, yeah, actually, if you don't mind, I think we should go back up and get you guys some coffee, and whoever else wants to taste some more coffee, and then I can answer any more questions while we're up there. The brittle?
Yeah, you said you did it by just for pure fun, and then all of a sudden you won first place?
Yeah, so it was a coffee fest down in Texas in like 2016. They just entered it on like a lark, essentially, because they thought it was pretty tasty and people loved it. And they didn't think it was going to do anything. It was competing against all sorts of other coffee products. And then the judges were, I guess they were from, I wasn't there, so this is like me telling the story that I was told. But the judges were some almost like curmudgeon-like folks. Not necessarily, but they just had that, they're very serious, making sure everything's going well. And then they cracked a smile when they tried the brittle, and it was like a whole world changed for them. Because it's pretty good. I mean, it's like it's such a simple thing, but it's really tasty.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But here, I'll get everyone organized, and I can answer any other questions you have too.
Every once in a while, you just need a good old card trip to break up the main events. But even card trips in Hawaii are pretty spectacular.
My wife and I have been doing this in the gallery for about 11 years now. You see what's out there. You're always inspired by certain things you see. So, of course, that has a lot to do with it and what you're surrounded by, of course, right? So, right. So around the age of 8 or 9, I pretty much it was a hobby. I would go home and, just started drawing a lot, and, it's just fun. I kind of did like, little whatever I was interested in. I remember doing like Ninja Turtles, Garfield, whatever, and just kind of having fun, drawing comic book characters. And then I had painted in high school a little bit, but it was just, one of those things I was just wanting to draw a lot, but then I kind of, locked into it, but not really. And then, one thing led to another, and I just took a couple lessons, and it just kind of clicked. Yeah, so in every painting I do, I hide the Hawaiian Island chain in every painting, and that kind of just, I was working on a manta ray, and manta rays always have different patterns on their underside, on their belly. It kind of looked like the island, so I just decided to go with it, and then I had people when they saw that, they loved the idea and they started looking for it and everything. So that was about 9 years ago. So I just told myself, I'm gonna put this in everything. Right,
That's awesome.
right.
That's very cool.
You know, we do everything in different sizes, from which this is a limited edition here where I actually go over and hand embellish the piece. So as you go through the gallery, we even brought in some prints on metal. We actually show the customers that come in like just the effects that it captures with the lighting.
Awesome. Yeah, show us.
So yeah, just kind of give you a demonstration. When you dim the lights on any piece, it really just changes the feel of the painting. So as it goes down, it's actually like you're really seeing the lava kind of.
That's a fantastic effect.
It's like captures that glow, you know. So. So this is a little bit of a different style I do, kind of like an impressionistic style. A lot of times I'll start with my first layer, which is obviously really soft, but then I'll come over with a palette knife. I don't really use a brush on this, and I'll actually just vary texture and just do an impression. I'll probably put some palm trees and stuff in here, of course, but that's what I'm working on now. So a lot of times I'll set up outside and demonstrate when I'm down here. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, this one here was it was a commission I did for somebody. So what it was is their grandfather flew with number 86. So it was like a real close family friend. So there's a big sentimental thing. And of course, one of the key things, like I said, was the number 86. And then I worked with him on far as what he wanted in the piece.
Colors of Paradise Gallery, that's where we are again. Delayed Traveler fans and follows, we are in Hawaii.
Colors of Paradise Gallery.
That's awesome.
After one last interview, it was time to head home. How can I sum up Hawaii? Not only strangely American, but oddly fun. From volcanoes to the lovely beaches, Hawaii was one wild and enjoyable ride.
It's like captures that glow, you know, so.
After one last interview, it was time to head home.